Hello, and welcome to Waves of YA, a podcast focused on young adult literacy, brought to you by the Ocean County Library's Teen Literacy Workgroup.
Hello and welcome to Waves of YA. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Summer. I'm the librarian at the Long Beach Island Library.
And my name is Casey, and I'm the librarian at the Lakewood branch.
Today we have a very special episode for you because we are going to be discussing one of the most popular fantasy and romance series of the current time, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses, or ACOTAR, as some call it. And so this book series actually is not a recent release. Casey, do you recall when it came out? Because I'm looking it up right now. I should have prepared myself.
Honestly, I feel like I put it in my notes.
I'm going to guess 2013, and then I'm going to see if I'm right.
I want to say it's 2015 for the first one. It's 2015.
You were right. I was close though. So 2015.
Very close.
So this isn't a new series, but it has had a renaissance of a sort in the past couple of years, and it is still on all of the favorite fantasy books of the year lists, no matter what website you go to. We've both read it, and we both have some opinions that align and some opinions that do not align, but we're going to talk about them. First off, Casey, how did you first get introduced to Sarah J. Maas's books?
So I didn't know who she was until probably 3 or 4 years ago. Had no idea. Absolutely, like 2020, 2021, had no idea. And she'd been publishing, I think, her first series in 2012. A coworker recommended the series to me, and I picked up ACOTAR was first. I couldn't put the first book down, and it was just, I was obsessed from there. It was amazing. If I could, that's like one series that if I could experience reading it for the first time again, I would. I remember being like, I couldn't believe like what I was reading. What about you?
Yeah. So I got ACOTAR as a gift, and I was planning to read it, but it sort of fell by the wayside. And then a couple years ago, I would say probably, around 2020-ish, but it might not have been till 2021, I started getting into romance books for the first time. I had never sought out romance books before, but I wanted to try. And when I discovered I liked them, that was on my list. And so I read ACOTAR at the very beginning of my romance reader journey. And I think that was very influential, reading a book for the relationships in the book. And again, I really enjoyed it. I immediately went out and bought the next 3 and read them in quick succession. And at that point, the fourth, I think the novella, this Court of Frost and Starlight, was out, but the fourth book, which we'll discuss later, was not.
Right.
And it was so interesting because it is one of those rare series where almost everyone unanimously agrees that the first book is not their favorite.
Correct.
And to me, it almost felt like when I read the second, that the first book felt more like a prequel, even though it's not, because all of the actions lead up. The main plot is in the second and third books, and the events of the first one are just the prelude, which is so fun, interesting to me, you know?
Yeah. Book 2 is definitely my favorite.
Yeah, well, because also, and a lot of, we're going to assume that most people who are listening to this have read ACOTAR, so there will be spoilers, we will just say. There will be spoilers in this podcast. But something that a lot of Sarah J. Maas fans will tell you is that the first love interest is never the true love interest, which I did not read the Throne of Glass series past the first book. I read the first book when it came out. So I never really got to figure out, apparently, because in the first book of Throne of Glass, there's 2 love interests that you're not really sure which one it's going to be. It turns out it's neither of them, which I found out later. But, and similarly in ACOTAR, you're drawn in by Tamlin. You think, okay, he is the love interest. And then you're introduced to Riz. I never know how to say his name.
It's Rhysand, and it's Rhys for short.
That makes the most sense. Imagine if his name was Riz.
Riz.
The Riz master. But then you meet Reese, and in my brain, see, I don't know why. Maybe I've read too many like YA romances with characters like this, but I didn't trust Tamlin because he was blonde. I don't trust blonde characters when they're introduced. I'm like, I don't trust them. I don't know what it is. Maybe I read a character with an evil blonde man in a book
Yeah.
and then never been the same. But I cannot.
I was totally Team Tamlin, and I was devastated. Again, spoilers, everybody. I was devastated when he pulled a Tamlin and did what he did, but then it ended up being worth it in the end because
Yeah.
Rhysand is
I
amazing.
I think I must have known or like heard
Mhm.
somewhere on the internet that he wasn't endgame with her
Right.
because I don't remember being super shocked. But I'm
Yeah.
also the type of person that I don't really mind spoilers, and sometimes on
Mhm.
the internet it's impossible to avoid them. So I
Yep.
kind of knew what was going
Yeah.
on, but I didn't know he was gonna become such a jerk
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
And while I was still currently reading them, I was on TikTok as well. So there were so many fan theories going around about everything, and it was hard to keep them straight
Right.
to the point where I just had to get off TikTok and be like, I'm not going to listen
Yeah.
to anyone's opinions about this. It's
Yeah.
getting too confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to
Okay.
start us off with our first question?
Yes. So, Summer, our first question is which court would you be in and why?
I was thinking about this, and I had to remind myself all of the different courts. There's the
Mhm.
4 seasons and then the day and night court. And I was really thinking
Right.
because I feel like a lot of people would say the Night Court because Reese is a really cool character. His little entourage is very fun. But then
Mhm.
there's the Night Court that is the face of the Night Court that are all kind of shady people, and then there's like
Right.
the actual city. What was it? Amantris?
Valaris.
Valaris. Why am I thinking? Oh, Elantris is another book. Never mind. Elantris is a book by Brandon Sanderson. Never mind. And so I was like, oh, I don't know. That one seems a little like you might fall in with the wrong crowd.
Mhm.
And I think that the seasonal courts are very interesting to me.
Mhm.
Because I was like, okay, if I could live in perpetual autumn, I would.
Mhm.
But you hear all these things about the autumn court being not nice people. So I'm like, maybe I don't want to live in
Yeah.
the autumn court. But and
Yeah.
my name is Summer, so some people would say maybe you want to live in the summer court, but I don't like the hot weather.
Yeah.
So and the spring court has Tamlin, who I also don't like. So I was really
Yep.
struggling with this question, Casey.
It's
I think
hard.
as far as weather, I would want to live in the autumn court. Maybe
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to deal with well, who is the guy who's the autumn court prince? What's his name?
Eris.
He doesn't actually seem that terrible in Nesta's book. He seems like he could get a redemption arc. It seems like his father, like the
Mhm.
king, is bad. So maybe when he's, I don't know.
Yeah. I have theories, but that'll be one of our other questions.
Seasonally, I would like to live in the autumn court.
Yeah.
Politically, I think all the courts. Politically, it seems like the winter court has the nicest folks.
Right.
But I don't think I'd want to live in perpetual winter.
No.
So I'll say the autumn court for now.
Yeah. So for me, I already knew off the bat like what I was gonna pick or like what I would lean towards, but I was curious, so I did a deep dive and I think I took 10 different quizzes just to
Oh
see
my
what would
God,
happen.
that's
But here's the
hilarious.
thing, they're so generic and they're so based on, do you like pumpkin spice lattes or like a pina colada? And it was so like you could make it pick what you wanted. It
Yeah,
wasn't like random questions like when you do your Pottermore test. So
yeah.
then I just sat and I thought about it, and mine would definitely be the Night Court.
Mhm.
Definitely basing off of Valaris, though, and that's because they
Yeah,
still get all of the seasons. I like all the
true,
seasons.
true.
And not today, I'm wearing pink, but I wear lots of black, so I would fit the vibe. And night skies are my favorite, and they have the best night skies.
That is
And
cool.
yeah, and Valaris sounds like the most magical place on Earth. So
That is nice. The day
the Night
court also
Court.
seemed cool. The king of the day court seemed like a nice guy. I was like, okay, he
Yeah,
could. And I do like Christmas, so the winter court could be fun, but like it just snowed and I'm already over it. So
over the snow.
the fall is just my favorite season. I feel like if I could be surrounded by fall foliage all the time, it would be worth it.
Yeah.
Maybe I could live in like a cabin somewhere away from the political drama of the actual court.
Yeah. Yeah, out
A
in the
little
woods or
cabin in the
something.
woods. Um, anyway, that was that was a hard question actually. I didn't think it was going to be hard until I really thought about it.
Yeah.
And I assume, do they ever discuss if any characters are you don't have to be aligned with a court in this universe, do you? Do you have to?
Correct. You don't. I need to think about this. I
It's been a
don't
while.
think you don't have to be, but I feel like everyone just does. It's not a discussed matter. I guess that's this question for Sarah J. Maas. I have no
That's
idea.
true. Or you'd have to reread the books. They must discuss it at some point.
Are you a teen in 8th through 12th grade? Are you looking for a dress for your junior or senior prom? Or perhaps a spring formal or 8th grade dance? Then keep these dates in mind. This March, the Ocean County Library is returning with the annual prom dress giveaway. The prom dress giveaways allow you to take home the dress of your dreams for free. Simply come to one of our participating branches, find a dress, and take it home. The giveaways will be from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Toms River branch on Monday, March 9th and Tuesday, March 10th, the Little Egg Harbor branch on Tuesday, March 17th and Wednesday, March 18th, and finally the Jackson branch on Wednesday, March 25th and Thursday, March 26th. This year, there will be a kickoff event at the Toms River branch on Saturday, March 7th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. For more details, check out our website at theoceancountylibrary.org. Visit your local branch or call us at 732-349-6200. We look forward to seeing you then.
What characters, you could also, if you want to talk about a favorite character as well in this question, go ahead. But what characters do you think have the best overall development? And are there some who have not yet had a development that you would like to see?
Okay. So there are so many characters in this series that have great story arcs, storylines, all that jazz. She hit it out of the park with that. This is very basic. So Feyre will always be my number one for her development, just because, you know, when you think of like how she went from book 1 to book 2 and then book 3, like she, you know, book 1, she's learning to fall in love and open up, and then book 2, the first half, she's like destroyed, completely depressed, really bad PTSD, and then you see her work through it with Rhysand and the Bat Boys, Cassian and Azriel, and then you see like how much of a baddie she turns out to be in book 3, you know, like so that she just went through like all this trauma and went from like, go ahead.
Especially considering she was illiterate at the beginning, which is hilarious to me in retrospect. Listeners, just want to say I love ACOTAR, but I also will critique it to the end of its days. And the fact that she can't read makes no sense to me, and it's so funny. There are a lot of very funny memes about the scene where she has to read the riddle. And like Lucy in these stands, like putting together the fact, like, why isn't she solving it? And then being like, oh my God, does this girl not know how to read? How did we miss this? Lucy, I feel like, is the more logical one of the group. Him and Tamlin. Lucian's like, how did we miss the fact that she couldn't read? We're so dumb. Also, how did none of her sisters or father know that she couldn't read? It doesn't make sense. This poor girl.
Because she went from like not being able to read to being like this frail passive human to being the lady of the night court, duking it out with this crazy lady like the Weaver in a cabin and all this stuff. And so one character that they're still in development that I'm really like and is growing on me and I feel like it's going to be so great is Eris. I think he's totally up to something and he's like a secret good guy, and that we're going to be finding out maybe a lot of bad stuff on Moore's part. I don't know. I feel like he covered up for her, did something really good, and I'm just really excited about it, and I don't want to be disappointed. So
in Nesta's book, it really seems like he isn't necessarily evil or good, but more out for himself. And there's definitely a lot left to be discovered. And that's the interesting thing. And again, we had the first 3 books, we had the trilogy, and then she set us up for and then she graduated into, I don't consider Nesta's book number 4. I consider it the first book in a new series, especially because it gets a lot more mature, as people will know. That one is definitely not YA. But it starts off all these new storylines that until we get the next book in that series, we really don't know anything about. So there's a lot left to be discovered.
What about you?
But is Feyre, would you say Feyre is your favorite character?
Yeah, Feyre.
Yeah, and also saying the main character's favorite character is totally allowed. I feel like people feel like they can't say that. It's like,
so
no.
basic.
Like, no, but like you can. That could be your favorite character. I think when I was reading, I really enjoyed Cassian because he's kind of like the comic relief in the like
Yes.
first 3 books.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed him. And I really like this. Again, I feel like one thing I will say about Sarah J. Maas is that while you're right, she does give her main characters a lot of depth and a lot of arc.
Mhm.
She will often bring up these small side characters that I feel like have so much potential to be interesting, and then you never hear from them again.
Right.
And I want more of that.
Yes.
And I think I've talked to you about this before, but she brings up in either the second or third book some characters, Vasa, who is cursed to turn into a firebird, and Koshi, who is a death god. And
Right.
if anyone listening doesn't know this, those are also characters that Sarah J. Maas took from Slavic folklore, and interposed into her books, which would be interesting to me if she developed them. But
Right.
they kind of, unless they come up later, they kind of just appear and disappear. And to me, that seems like a missed opportunity because those fairy tales, they're usually Russian fairy tales, are very complicated and interesting.
Mhm.
And so that seems like a missed opportunity to me. I would like to see what happens with Tamlin because again, a lot is left unanswered still with this series not finished. We see Tamlin go from cursed to powerful again in the Spring Court, and then when Feyre leaves, he becomes the villain, which he wasn't before. But then you see him turn from a villain into this like broken man who is basically living in his beast form the whole time.
Right.
And I've seen people even speculate, and these are fan theories with no evidence, that they think Elaine would be a good match for Tamlin. But then we have Elaine with her. Elaine has so many love interests at this point. I'm not even sure what I think.
Something's up with her.
And that's really another interesting thing is that they set up this lore in this world where your mate, air quotes, is like a definitive thing. Even though I take qualm with the fact that the guy feels it, but the woman doesn't. So he has to tell her, like, how do you know? So, like, I don't think Lucian is lying, but, like, how do you know a guy isn't lying if he says that? Like, anyway. So, Lucian clearly feels this. And Elaine does say that she feels the connection, but obviously she is thrust upon her too quickly. She's not comfortable with it. And then there are all these scenes with Asriel where you think, oh, maybe Elaine and Asriel will have a thing. And in the romance genre, the rejected mate trope is a thing where you have a fated mate and you decide not to be with them. So that is a trope, but I was wondering if that's where she was going to go with the rejected mate trope. So I think I'm going off on a tangent. For me, it just feels like there's so many unanswered questions that I feel like there's a lot of characters who I want to see what happened with them. But again, where's the next book? Where is it?
I know. That's the one out of all the books and series she's working on, that's the one I want. Because, I keep saying like, okay, it's Elaine's book. Because you want to say, oh, it's Elaine and Asriel's book, or it's Elaine and Lucian's book. And I'm like, okay, no, Elaine's book is next. Like, we know this.
Yeah, she's confirmed that it's Elaine's book. I can't remember.
I think she did. It's not confirmed of who the love interest is going to be, which our next question.
Part of me wonders if she doesn't know. Like, has she not decided? Because that would be funny to me.
Yeah.
I could see myself being in that solution. Like, I wrote myself into a corner. They're both good options. What would be more engaging? Unless we get a polycule, but
yeah.
which we are seeing trends of that in YA of polyamorous relationships. So it could happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question. What's your favorite fan theory?
Okay. So my favorite theory is that Elaine and Tamlin are actually mates and Lucian is covering for them. Because I have, backup
I'm
for
interested.
This. Okay. So, Elaine and Lucian are never actually around one another. So no one can confirm the mating bond via smell. They are very rarely in the same room together.
Wait, it's a thing that other people can smell the mating bond between two people?
I'm pretty sure. I hope I'm not making that up, but I'm pretty
Okay,
sure
no,
people can smell the mating bond.
it sounds correct. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I read it closely, so I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, continue.
No, don't be sorry. And then, when Lucian says, after she comes fresh out of the cauldron, he's like, oh, she's my mate. Tamlin was right next to him. And smells could have been combined or hidden. And we don't know what Lucian's capabilities are based on like who his actual father is. So, and it was also a high stress situation, so no one was really paying attention to smelling mating bonds. So my theory is that Elaine and Tamlin are mates, and that Lucian's covering for him and for him, and that Tamlin is so miserable, and like at the end of book 3 and then book 4, he's just like moping around in his beast form, and I think it's because he's not with his mate, and that is my theory.
Yeah. Okay. And I totally could see it. My question is, I guess it's more just like the setup for the mating bond is they make it out to be so strong you can't resist it. But then some people definitely can. So I guess my question would be like, was Tamlin just so focused on Feyre that he just like didn't even care? Like, and Lucian, I guess there's just a lot of questions, but I can see it. I mean,
because Elaine wasn't around Tamlin at all until the cauldron, Yeah. And I don't think you realize the mating bond is a thing until you're in front of each other and you look at each other and it snaps into place.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have snapped into place until after the cauldron scene. And I think Tamlin was just so in love with Feyre that he was like, yeah, she's my mate. It'll snap into place eventually.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, or maybe he got but if you're correct, that oh my God, can you imagine that's so messy.
Because
then I mean, if you're right, then Lucian is not gonna be too heartbroken, but Lucian seems pretty intent on it.
Yeah, this is true.
And then Asriel is all messed up about it. And Asriel, I think, is convinced that because they're sisters, he has to have one of them. But then who is the girl that everyone also ships with Asriel, the redhead?
Gwyn. He's making poor choices. Do you remember the necklace situation?
Yes, but also the whole thing with Gwyn is I feel like those two interacting so infrequently that I feel like people will ship anything that moves.
It's true.
And those two interact like once, and I'm like, is this really necessary? Can't Gwyn just like live her life without having to have a boyfriend? She's been through enough.
Yeah. So that's my theory. What's your favorite theory?
Oh my God. I honestly don't know. I like yours. And I guess
there's just so many to pick from.
I honestly haven't been deep into the like fan theories in a while, so I don't think I have one. I like yours because it does seem there's a lot of loose threads. Like there's a loose thread of Tamlin. There's the loose thread of, again, like Koshi and Vasa. When are they going to come into it? And who is the other guy? Jurian?
Jurian, yeah.
Jurian? What's he up to?
He was in the eyeball or something. Her eyeball was on what's-her-face's finger.
Yeah. And because we know that Sarah J. Maas is now doing like a multiverse of madness thing, where the worlds are crossing over, it just seems, I personally think it's getting a little too convoluted.
It's a bit chaotic.
Yeah, when I learned that at the end of, this is a spoiler-heavy podcast, we're just saying now. When I learned that at the end of the second Crescent City book, what's her face? What's the girl's name again? I'm so bad with names.
Bryce.
When I learned that Bryce crosses over into the ACOTAR world, I honestly, I could see some people getting excited about that, and like I don't blame them. It's interesting. I sort of lost interest because I don't like when you have to read one book series to understand a second book series.
Right.
I had a lot of qualms with Marvel when it started being like, well, to understand this movie, you have to watch Captain America, and then to understand that one, you have to watch Spider-Man. I think you should be able to read anything alone. And it's interesting if you can pick up Easter eggs from the other books, but you shouldn't have to read one to read the other. I didn't like that.
Yeah. And it's definitely turning into that. For 100%, you're right.
Yeah, because now I've seen people be like, well, wait, what if Bryce and Hunt aren't actually mates and Bryce is Asriel's mate? And I'm like, well, how does that even make sense?
That's trash.
And yeah,
Trash.
I will say from Crescent City 1, I really liked Bryson Hunt. Um, so I just feel like it's too many characters are colliding. It's getting too messy.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people feel like me and are put off by it because I
hmm
can't see myself continuing Crescent City at this point. Maybe
Yeah,
I will. Who knows?
the first book, like I couldn't, like I said before, I couldn't put it down, and then the second two I had to force myself to finish. It was interesting to see the crossover for sure, but it wasn't everything that I hoped it would be. But I'm holding out hope that there's going to be more crossover and it's going to be kind of like an Avengers Unite kind of a
Mm.
situation because Vasa being the Firebird, there are Firebirds that are, or no, they're Thunderbirds or something in the Crescent City world. So I wonder
Okay.
if eventually she
Well,
will come up.
yeah, well, Thunderbirds are a Native American uh creature. So I don't
hmm
know. But yeah, Crescent City, I liked the first one, and I don't think so. Is that Crescent City is done, right? She's not gonna write any more
Yes.
Crescent Cities?
No, wait, there is going to be another book, but it's going to be it's not Bryson Hunt. It's about another couple of different points of views, which means I'm probably not going to read it.
Yeah,
So
I think S.J. Moss is doing a little too much, and
I agree
I think she's likely being pressured by publishing to
for sure.
toll out these books like Toll House cookies, you know? But
Yeah.
so I don't have a favorite theory. My theory is that it's getting too messy and
Yeah.
it's confusing me.
Yeah.
You should just be
Okay.
able to read ACOTAR, the
Yeah.
first three, and be done. You should be able to put them down. You shouldn't have to
Right.
have yourself tied to this expanding multiverse for
Yeah. It's
unless
like
you want
that.
to be.
Yeah. It's like that meme with someone's doing like like it's a bunch of equations on a whiteboard and they look
Yes.
crazy and they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what it's turned into. And I kind of miss the novelty that was just ACOTAR. Because I also did Throne of Glass, and those were two, they didn't really, there was one scene where, spoiler alert, like Aelin like is falling through a bunch of worlds and she shoots through Valaris.
Yeah. But that's
There's
interesting
one little mention.
because if you have read the both of them, you can pick up on that and that's kind of
Right.
cool, but you
Yeah,
shouldn't be required to.
exactly.
Like the similar thing happened to one of my favorite series where they mentioned something at the very end that ties into another book and I was like, "Oh, I caught that." And that was really
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
But
It's just too
yeah,
much.
I don't and
But
some people probably really like that Multiverse of Madness stuff, but I think it really can divide a fan base.
I don't want to have Sharpies in order to read books and have
Yeah.
to go back
Oh
between
my God.
7 different books. It's too much.
Unpopular reader opinion, I don't understand how people tab their books.
I agree with you. I hate it
I
so
don't
much.
again, do
It
what
just
you
looks
want.
messy.
Do what you want, live your life. If it makes you happy, do it. But I don't understand it. I just want to read it from start to finish.
And then put it
That's
on the
it.
shelf.
Unless I'm like reading it for school, but I'm done with school,
Right.
so I won't.
Exactly.
Okay. How do you think Sarah J. Maas has influenced the genre of fantasy romance and its readers?
All right. I think that there's always been fantasy books, right? But
Yes.
it feels like, at least maybe this is just my personal experience, but it feels like nothing super popular had like hit by storm since Twilight and Harry Potter. It feels like there was nothing really big since then, at least like in my world and what I've experienced in books. And I don't know how you're going to feel about what I'm about to say, but I really think that SJM, Sarah J. Maas, SJM, paved the way for a romantasy. Because before her, I had never read anything that was fantasy and romance, and the romantasy thing was born. And, there's always been love interests in the YA fantasy world, but hers was just different. Like Throne of Glass was published in 2012, and then A Court of Thorns and Roses was in 2015, and these series are still raging
Yeah.
all of these years later. And readers have always wanted like deeper, we just want deeper, more in-depth love stories than just like, okay, like this is a crush and we're dating. It's just, I don't know, especially when she created like Feyre and Reese's love story, I was like, oh my God, this is everything for
Yeah.
me. So that's how I feel about that. What about you?
I definitely can see what you mean. I think romantasy has definitely existed before. I think
Yeah.
Sarah J. Maas sort of like just made the right combination at the right time, and
Yeah.
it just resonated with people.
Mhm.
I have like mixed feelings about the term romantasy, which has nothing to do with
Okay.
Sarah J. Maas. When I first
Yeah.
heard it, because I think it became a thing like a year or two ago. At
Mhm.
first, I thought, "Oh, that's really cute. I like that." But then I feel like I heard it so much. It was
Right.
like I was eating the same food every day for a year, and I was like, "I'm sick of it.
Right.
I'm sick of the
Right.
term." But it's
Yeah.
very useful. I think it can get with romantasy. I think it can get a little dicey because some books I feel like people are slapping the term romantasy on everything,
Yes.
and it doesn't mean everything. ACOTAR is definitely romantasy because it is
Right.
a fantasy book with a heavy focus on the relationships. The relationships are
Yes.
what bring you to the book. But there's
Mhm.
also books that are fantasy books that have romance in them, but it's
Mhm.
not necessarily the driving force behind the book.
Right.
But people are slapping romantasy on everything, and I think it's misleading because people are going into it expecting something like A Court of Thorns and Roses, but it's not.
Right.
Because everything has a different flavor, and
Yep.
it's really hard to classify things so strictly.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that Sarah J. Maas definitely opened the doorway for a lot of and I think another thing is that I think she popularized romance in a more common way. I think there's a lot of prejudice around romance novels just in the
Mhm.
world. People will still tell you that reading romance isn't really reading because it's
Right.
not cerebral enough, or romance readers a lot of the time are women, not
Mhm.
exclusively,
Yeah.
but people like to belittle it for that reason.
Right.
And I think it brought romance fiction into the forefront in a way that was really popular.
Yep.
Um, and it has continued to be, like you said.
Mhm.
Um, I sometimes have a problem with this
Mhm.
because, like I said to you before, the way that the social media algorithm works makes it so some series like ACOTAR, Fourth Wing are
Mhm.
so popular that it seems like on social media they're all you hear about, when
Right.
there are other books that deserve equal attention and
Right.
that you might like just as much that aren't getting the same attention because they're not being promoted to the same extent. But that's an issue with social media. That's its own
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would agree with you on that. But I definitely think there was romantasy before. Like, I was trying to think, there was a series that I was going to recommend at the
Mhm.
end when we recommend books, but it's the Wicked Lovely series by Melissa Marr.
Okay, I've heard of it. I haven't read
And
it.
it is a fairy book. I read it in middle school. So if I was
Okay.
in eighth grade, I'm like, what year was I in eighth grade? Like 2010, 2011?
How old are
Anyway,
you?
I'm 29. I'll be 29 next month.
Yeah, so that sounds right. Like 2010.
Yeah. So it was the probably published in before the 2010s, probably published like 2008.
Right.
And it's like an urban fantasy. It's set in a city, and
Mhm.
there are again, there are fairy courts, but it's
Right.
not its own fantasy world. It's set in our world, and the fairy
Mhm.
courts are sort of invisible. And they are all glamored. So you can only see fairies if they let themselves be seen to you, or if you have the
Mhm.
sight. And the main character does have the sight, and that's her entry
Right.
into it.
Mhm.
Um, so there's the winter court, there's the summer court. Like
Mhm.
isn't a new thing. It's just
Mhm.
like we're seeing it in different evolutions. And so
Right.
I think Wicked Lovely, and there's 4 or 5 books in that series, is a good example of a early aughts, early
Yeah.
2000s romantasy series. Um, I can't speak to how popular it was at the time because I
Mhm.
wasn't on social media at the time, whatever it was, MySpace.
Yeah.
um, but I think that's like an early iteration of something that could be comparable.
Yeah.
But it's not high fantasy. It's like urban fantasy, fantasy in our
Right.
world.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, go your next question.
Okay. Okay, I like this question. Do you think Tamlin has redeemed himself, slash, do you think he is redeemable at all?
I don't think he's done anything to be redeemable yet. I think
Okay.
this man has done nothing to work. He has done none of the work yet. I think he
Okay.
can. I think he can do the work. But
Yeah.
so far, I think the only thing he did was he helped during that final battle, right?
Yeah.
He like showed up in
Yes.
his beast form and helped. I think that is him beginning to do the work.
Okay. You're going to hate my answer.
Because it's okay. It's okay. We can have different opinions. That's fine. Because I think we see him be Feyre's boyfriend, be a really bad boyfriend, then basically be shaming her for leaving him and being with Rhys.
Right.
And then he just becomes a hermit in the forest, pining for his lost love. It was his own fault he lost her.
Yeah.
And then I think at the end he decides, okay, it's time to man up and try to work through what I'm feeling. So I think he can be redeemed. I think in the later books it's likely he will be. I don't think he's done the work yet.
All right. I respect that.
He's got to do the work.
Yeah. All right. So for me, let's be clear, Tamlin messed up big time.
Of course.
Time messed up. But I feel like readers need to acknowledge that he too was dealing with trauma, and this is not an excuse, but he was dealing with trauma and he was doing what worked for him to work through it or just survive. But he was doing that with no regard as to what would work for Feyre. So I will say that. Another thing is that though it was icky, his intentions were pure in that he wanted to protect, Feyre. Did it in the almost awful way, but it wasn't like my intention is to make her life awful. It was like, I love this person. I need to protect her. That all being said, it still wasn't okay. And I know he was hurting very badly. And especially like his comments at the High Council in book 3, no bueno. He could have definitely handled himself better.
Gives the ick.
Gives the ick. And then I feel like Tamlin making sure that Feyre escaped because she was stuck in the enemy camp in book 3 before the big battle, and he made sure she got out. I feel like that points to redemption. And then at the end when he told Feyre, he was like, oh, like, be happy. Like, that did it for me. Yeah. And then also back to my previously mentioned theory that him and Elaine are actually mates. If this is true, I feel like this gives him big redemption points because, if they are mates and that's why he's so mopey and he's staying away, but staying in his beast form, to help like not feel the strain of the bond not being accepted. If this is true, I think him not acknowledging the bond and staying away from Elaine, he's doing it because it'll hurt and stress out Feyre. I feel like that's another big redeemer. Yeah. Like he's like, okay, I'm gonna like reject my mating bond because I can't do that to Feyre. That's gonna be awful. So
yeah, I think all these points are valid. And again, we can have different opinions. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think that Feyre has forgiven him, and I think the other characters are sort of like he's apologized. But as far as like in book action, like as a reader, I think he has to do more to show that he's growing and changing. And again, this all comes back to the fact of like all these answers will be answered when we get more books.
Yes, we just need that book.
We need more books.
Yeah.
Honestly, and again, I told you I'm not sure if I'd ever finish the Crescent City series. I probably would read, if Elaine's book came out, I'd probably read that because I already put in the work with Nesta's book. I feel like I have to know. Yeah. My issue with when I started reading the second Crescent City wasn't anything specific. It was more just like it felt like too much was happening at once.
It was a lot.
There was a lot of plots happening, and I was like, okay, too much is happening. I need to take a step back, and I kind of just never picked it up again.
Yeah.
But yeah. What do you think of the controversy over if Sarah J. Maas's books belong in teen fiction or adult fiction?
Okay. So, like I said, I didn't read this series until I was a real adult, like a firm adult, whatever. So, when I read the first book, I was like, okay, like this is pretty racy for YA. And now, mind you, like I had been reading adult for a really long time. I wasn't super into YA. I was like, okay, this is really racy. But again, I was also an adult when I read it. And then I got to book 2 and I was like, whoa there. This is very, very giving adult with the scenes with her and Rhys and all that jazz. And I know if we're getting into technicalities, like Feyre is 19 and most people would say that young adult is ages 12 to 19. So people would argue that it's fine for the older portion of our young adult patrons and range. But then again, there's the romance scenes that feel very, very adult. And I think that if ACOTAR had come out 3 years ago, that the series would have been marked as new adult, which is, a new thing, pun intended, /adult. but they came out in 2015 before new adult existed. And right now, a lot of libraries have the first 3 books in the YA section and the novella, excuse me, that as well. And then Nesta's book 4, we'll call it, quote unquote, is an adult. So if we're told that the book should be moved to one or the other, personally, I would say we should put them in adult, or let's, expand the library and change things up and maybe create like a new adult section to make it fun.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about that. What about you?
I think you make some really good points. I have a couple of different layers to this. Well, one is the YA category is not perfect. Like you said, teens, some people say from 12 to 19, some people say 13 to 18.
Right.
And I'm sure anyone who's been a teenager can attest to the fact that the way you feel and act when you are 13 to 15 is drastically different than how you feel when you are 16 to 18, 19.
100%.
It's an extremely large bracket of ages. My other thing is that, again, ACOTAR came out at a time when new adult was first starting to emerge. So there's a lot of gray areas as far as where books like that can be put.
Right.
As someone who reads a lot of romance, adult and otherwise, I personally did not. I thought obviously there are some sexy scenes in there. I didn't think they were too explicit compared to what the scenes are like in Nesta's book. Nesta's scenes are very explicit. Yes. That is why her book is absolutely adult, no questions about it.
Right.
However, but my other thing is that I think that a lot of YA books deal with topics of sex and sexuality, and they always have. I think ACOTAR is just way more on the radar than other books. And it's getting a lot of scrutiny. And teenagers are definitely thinking about these things and experiencing these things, and they're going to seek it out. And I think it is much healthier and safer to explore these feelings in a book than searching it up on the internet.
This is true.
So my thought is, I think it does definitely teeter the line between teen fiction and adult fiction. It's definitely older teen, like 16 to 19, but I think it's perfectly fine for teen readers.
Yeah.
And again, freedom to read.
Yep. Reading is reading, y'all.
And again, sometimes you have questions about stuff and you're not really sure who to ask. You're not really sure what to look up. And if you're reading a book and you find yourself feeling a certain way or exploring a certain thing for the first time, I think that's a very safe way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Our last question. Which we kind of talked about this. Have you read Sarah J. Maas's other series, and what do you think of the overlap between the worlds?
Yes. So I have read, back when I was an actual teenager, I did read Throne of Glass. I think at the time, only the first book was out. I don't think the second one was even out yet. So I must have read it in like 2012 when it first. And I remember liking it and reading it very quickly, but I don't think I felt compelled to read more. And again, she was a new author. There was none of the hype around her at this point.
Right.
So I never finished that one. I finished all the ACOTAR books that are currently out. I read the first Crescent City and did not finish the trilogy. And that is the world. And I said what I thought about the world overlapping. I think it's getting too messy.
Yeah. So I have read all of the books, all the series.
Respect.
And yeah, thank you. It's a lot. Like, as you said before, it's messy, and I feel like I agree that she's being rushed, and which is unfortunate. Like, shame on you, publishing, because all of us are like crazy dedicated readers. We will wait for the book. If it's got good quality, like, we'll be patient. It's fine. So with the overlap, there have always been hints of it before it actually happened in the last Crescent City. There is an overlap. Spoiler: Bryce, as we said before, Bryce dips into the ACOTAR world. She's in Valaris for a bit, so are her parents. But before that, there were hints like Aelin possibly falling through the sky in I want to say it was the novella for ACOTAR. Like, Aelin falls through real quick. But we finally got that overlap in Crescent City. I like it so far. I think that there definitely needs to develop more, and there needs to be more going on. And I think there's going to be like I don't know. I think it's taking so long for her to write all these books because maybe because rushing, but also because she's building something
Yeah.
crazy in her head, and that we're gonna have like an Avengers Endgame moment, and that maybe like the overreaching arc in the new ACOTAR book, like the adult ACOTAR books, is going to include like Throne of Glass things, Crescent City things. So that's what I'm hoping for. I don't want to be disappointed, but you know,
It's
yeah.
hard to when something is that's another issue I have with the way books are promoted these days is that there's so
Yeah.
much hype that
Yeah.
it's very easy for books to fall short of that hype. I've talked to a lot of people who
Mhm.
read ACOTAR um, based on people telling them it's so good you have to read it, and the
Right.
hype was so big that it fell short. And
Right.
I actually asked somebody, do you think if you had read it knowing nothing about it you would have liked it more? And they said yes, they think they would have,
Interesting.
because people are building it up to be too big.
Yeah.
Um, my last question that's not on our official list of questions
Yeah.
is time for us to recommend books that we think people would like if they
Oh.
liked Sarah J. Maas. I've already mentioned the Wicked Lovely series by Melissa Marr, a
Mhm.
little bit older. I'm also
Mhm.
going to mention a book series I recommend in almost every podcast that has to do with
Okay.
fantasy, which is the author Laini Taylor's Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy and
Mhm.
her Strange the Dreamer duology.
Okay.
These are, again, I joke that she did the blank of blank and blank before
Mhm.
anyone else, because I remember in 2010 finding that book on the shelf at Barnes and Noble and being like, what a cool title. No one's ever
Yeah.
done that before. And I
Right.
will stake my life on it. But those are definitely really unique fantasy worlds.
Mhm.
We got some romance. We have forbidden love. We have
Mhm.
a mystery. They're beautifully written books. Laini Taylor is one of my absolute all-time favorite writers of
Mhm.
fantasy YA, and she does really nice romantic plots as well. So
Mhm.
that's one for me.
Okay. Um, so I feel like it's so underrated, or maybe it was popular back in the day and now it's not anymore. But I'm gonna not I don't think I'm gonna say the last name right, but the Kingdom of the Wicked series by Carrie
Oh,
Mariscolo.
yes, yes.
So it's very similar to ACOTAR in that the first three books were in YA, and then that was about. So it's high fantasy, and it's about witches and the seven princes of hell. I don't want to give away too much. Do a little synopsis, and there's mystery, there's romance. It's kind of like there's thriller parts. It's really good. So, anyways, going off on a tangent. The first three books, it's a trilogy, so those are YA. And then that's based off one of the princes and one witch. And then she decided I'm going to go into adult, and now there's two so far. The third is coming out in February, I believe, but all the other brothers get a book.
Very cool.
So I think the next one is Gluttony. And the trilogy was really good, and then the adult books are really good, but again, like they are adult books very much as like how the fourth ACOTAR book, like Nesta's book, is adult. But if you're looking for some like a similar jump like that,
Mhm.
they're so good. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't put them down. They're
Which is
amazing. So
also,
that
which
would
is all,
be.
yeah, which is also good, especially if you're reading these books as a teenager and then you graduate to adult fiction, which not to say teens
Yeah.
can't read adult fiction. You can read any fiction at any age. Like I'm the biggest
Yes.
proponent of, you can be 50 and read YA. You can be
Yeah.
17 and read adult books. Like I was reading adult books when I was a teenager. Like it's fine.
Same. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I read the first one. I remember feeling not super, I felt like neutral about it, but I did like
Yeah.
her um Stalking Jack the Ripper series, Carrie
Yep.
Maniscalco. I liked
Mhm.
that one.
Yeah,
So
I haven't read
I
that.
would give it another try. Also, our
Yeah.
queen Holly Black,
Yes. Oh,
the
so
the
good.
the Cruel Prince series is the most popular one, but there's also
Mhm.
her original three of the first being Tithe,
Yep.
Tithage, and then
Yep.
her current duology, The Prisoner's Throne and the um, Stolen Heir.
Yep.
I also really love the duology by oh God, why can't I remember her name? But We Hunt the Flame. And
Okay.
again, we have a slow burn romance. We have enemies to lovers. It's set
Mhm.
in a fantasy world inspired by ancient Arabia. Very interesting magic system inspired, of course, by Middle Eastern mythology. We have
Mhm.
jinn. We have uh, lots of cool stuff. And I also recommend Naomi Novik to everybody, especially Spinning
Mhm.
Silver.
Okay.
Sorry, I have a list.
No, it's fine. I had the one.
No, great. But I think that's good because we've already been recording for a while. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, you have any final comments or anything you'd like to say, Casey?
I don't think so. If you haven't read ACOTAR, you should. It's good. It's great. It's a whole experience. In my opinion, it's like Reese and Feyre is the greatest love story I've read ever. Like I have one of their lines tattooed on my body. Like
Oh my
it's just
gosh.
so good. Yeah.
That's great. You'll have to tell me later what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of detail that we obviously couldn't get into in under an
Right.
hour. So,
Right.
definitely give it a try. And again, I'm always, if you don't like it, that's fine too. You
That's
don't have to
fine
like
too.
popular stuff. You can just put it down and read something else because
Yep.
not everything's for everybody. But if you're interested, definitely give it a try and get it from your library.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And join us next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. Be sure to check out the Ocean County Library's website for more podcasts and events. All titles mentioned in today's episode can be found through the Ocean County Library, free with your library card. Until next time, happy reading.